I realized that I actually need to say no to many more guys in order to say yes to the right guy. Hey there, my name is Malaika Neri. I'm a professional Indian matchmaker. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how last month I turned down 4 different serious options, guys who genuinely had the intention to commit, who were interested in me, who wanted to start a serious long-term relationship, explore that possibility with me, and why I turned them down, even though on paper they were all perfectly nice guys who really wanted to start a family, to get married, and to settle down with the right person. Now, first, I want to start by explaining to you that the most important part of this topic is the fact that you need to have a lot of options. The number one issue I see with working with smart single Indian women who want to settle down, who want to find a partner, is that they just don't have enough options. Dating is a numbers game. Even if you are super attractive, you still need numbers. And even Priyanka Chopra, she is such an attractive, interesting, intelligent, smart, ambitious, successful woman, but she literally had 0 options at the time that she met Nick Jonas because she just spent all of her time working, doing film after film, movie after movie, trying to succeed in 2 different industries that she just did not have time to bring serious options into her life. So if there's one lesson that you take away from today's video, you need to bring serious options into your life, even if you're not going to marry them. That is just how the marriage market works. You need to have serious options in order to be able to whittle down to the final 1 or 2 that you would actually consider marrying. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how I brought these 4 options into my life. Really nice guys who want to find the right person so that they can get married and eventually start a family. So 2 of the guys I actually found through a matchmaking database. As I was looking for clients for matches for my own clients, I came across the profiles of these 2 guys, and I thought, hey, we actually have a lot of common interests, and they might be interesting, and that is how we got in touch. So the first guy, I'm going to call him Joseph. Really nice guy. He shares my passion for cycling, for going to coffee shops, for traveling, and he speaks 4 languages fluently. Now, I love languages. I speak about 10 languages, and it's been a huge passion of mine for many years. And so the minute I discovered that he spoke 4 languages, and I also speak those 4 languages, I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is something that I would love to share with a partner. Caveat, sharing different languages that you speak in common has absolutely 0 impact on the long-term success of this relationship. It's a really good example of how I got distracted instead of focusing on the qualities that matter. For staying with a guy and being compatible in the long term, I focused on things like common interests in languages, which have 0 impact on the long-term success of a relationship. But Joseph was really nice. I reached out to him. I said, hey, I really liked your profile. And I made a profile of me, which we call your ideal partner profile. It's a really detailed description of who you are, what you're looking for in a partner, and who is your ideal partner based on your lifestyle, values, mindset, and deal breakers. So I made this in a Google Doc and sent him a link, and he said, wow, I really like your profile too. We should definitely meet up. And I said, great. I'm in Paris. You can come and meet me here if you'd like. And he said, cool. And then he booked a ticket and came to meet me in Paris. This is what you want to see in a guy who is serious about you. He says, I want to see you in person. He doesn't waste any time in either asking you out if you two live in the same city, or in making plans to come and spend time with you if you don't live in the same city. And finally, he comes and sees you and spends time with you in the place where you live. We want to attract empowered, masculine men into our lives. These are men who take initiative, they put in the effort, and they show you with their actions that they are 100% serious about committing to you, not just in general, but specifically to you. So this guy, Joseph, did all of that. He booked his ticket within a couple of weeks of us getting in touch. He booked a ticket, came to Paris, and spent the day with me. We went out for lunch. We walked around the city in beautiful summer weather, and we had a chance to get to know each other in person. And that was how I knew that he was serious, because he showed me with his actions that he was serious. Now, the obvious question, Laika, if a guy shows you that he's serious and you share common interests, why would you turn him down? And here is why. Now, Joseph ticked a lot of the boxes. He's an educated professional. He's doing very well in his career. He's a software engineer. He can basically work anywhere. He had a fully remote job, meaning that he could either relocate to where I'm living or we could choose a destination together. And he can work anywhere in the world. He loves to travel, he speaks many languages, he likes to ride bikes, likes to try out different foods. And he asked me questions about my job, and he was interested in learning about matchmaking. So he ticked a lot of the boxes. There were two major red flags. One was the fact that he withheld information from me about his background. So Joseph and I met online, and we started exchanging information about each other via email. We started getting to know each other. So there was a lot about Joseph that I just didn't know and couldn't ask. I'd never seen his LinkedIn profile. I didn't know if he had an Instagram, and I didn't ask him. I just trusted that if there was something important to know, he would tell me, just as I told him the facts about my life that were important for a potential partner to know. But when we met in person, he dropped a comment that made me realize, oh my gosh, this guy has withheld so much important information from me. And the way he did it as kind of a joke, which made me feel like, oh, did I just get manipulated? He was like, haha, like, I'm glad I didn't tell you this earlier. And I felt really uncomfortable when he did that. So I'm sharing this with you to say that transparency is a huge value of mine. It's one reason why I make these videos, to talk to you about how I navigate the dating world. And it's also something that I look for in a potential partner. I assume that if someone is going to be transparent with me as we're getting to know each other, he'll be transparent with me for the rest of our lives together. So right away, during our first date together, I saw that Joseph was not being transparent with me. And I brought it up with him. I said, this lack of transparency is a big red flag for me. And he said, yes, that's true. Hiding information is something that I do, and it's a habit that I picked up growing up because of my family dynamics. So it's a conversation I had very openly with him, and something that he was conscious of. The second red flag was that when we went out for a meal together, he wanted to split the bill. Now, there's a lot of debate on this topic, and the vast majority of my clients say, Malaika, I'm a financially independent woman. I don't need for a guy to pay for me. I can pay for myself, and I can also pay for myself. That's exactly what I did. I pulled out my card, I tapped it on the card reader, and I paid for my share of the meal. So why is this a red flag in a potential partner? We want to be with empowered masculine men, and empowered masculine men provide men who want to look after you, who have the intention of taking care of you as their wife and partner and potential mother of their future children, will show you that they will provide for you from the get-go. If they financially cannot afford to take you out for lunch or take you out for dinner or even buy you an ice cream, then they won't propose doing that activity. They will suggest, hey, why don't we go for a walk? My brother's still a little tight right now. Why don't I take you out on a picnic? Why don't I cook dinner for you at my home? And if they cannot cook dinner for you at their home or take you out on a picnic, then they're probably not in a financial situation where they're even ready to have a partner, and they need to focus on getting more financially stable. A guy who wants to take care of you, who's serious about you, will not ask you to split the bill. He will tell you from the get-go, I want to look after you. I will do whatever it takes to look after you. Men judge each other on two things: money and muscle. So if a guy considers himself successful in either money or muscle, then he will want to show that to you from the day he meets you. He will not be saying, hey, like, why don't you split this bill with me? And when I spoke to Joseph about this, I said, this is really not what I'm looking for in a partner. He said, yeah, I want an equal partner. And I said, great, go find her. And the fact of the matter is he's single, right? So his ideas about what he wants in a partner, in the end, when we are married, no marriage is 50-50. That's a bad marriage. A successful marriage is 150, 150. We're each giving more than what we want to give, and we're getting more than we expect to give. That's love. It cannot be quantified by numbers. And it's the same with the career. You give more to a career than you might be getting paid for, because the benefits are accruing over the long term. It's not a day-to-day, okay, today I gave 98% because I only got paid 98% of my salary. No, you get paid your salary at the end of the month, but every month you put in more than what your salary is, so that you can invest your energy in the company to get promoted either next year or 5 years from now to be ready for that next level of your career. It's the same in a relationship. And I saw that Joseph had this mindset of, I give X and I get X. And that's how I knew that he wasn't ready for a marriage. He was ready for a date. So I said, Joseph, thank you for your time, but I'm not going to go ahead with that. And we parted very amicably. Second guy, also found him through this matchmaking database. He was super nice. He reached out to me because I was looking at his LinkedIn profile, trying to scope him out, get to learn a little bit more about him. And he saw LinkedIn tells you someone's been looking at your profile. So he sent me a message. He said, hey, I'm actually moving to France very soon. And so we started talking because I was living in Paris. We started talking again. He's a guy who really likes cycling. I really love cycling. France is a paradise for cycling. So we started talking a lot about what it's like to live in France, etc., what our long-term plans are, and what we like to do on the weekends. He was really good at communication. He responded immediately to all of my messages. And I said, I don't really like the LinkedIn messaging interface. Can you email me? And he said, sure. And then he sent me an email. So I love communicating by email. If you're one of my students, you know that. And Peter, the second guy, was very happy to communicate with me by email. So I really loved how good he was. He was very transparent. He was very open, very honest about all of his feelings. And he just seemed like a really nice guy. Plus, he was relocating to France. So there were two red flags that I saw with Peter that made me think this is not someone for me. The first was that he was moving to France, and Peter's an Indian guy. And he's saying, I intend to move to this very small city that is close to my place of work. And he's going to work in this little village in the middle of nowhere. So I was like, why don't you move to Paris instead of moving to that small city and then, get a studio in that village where you're going to work and spend 4 days a week there, and then spend your weekends in Paris so that you can meet people, date, etc. Now, I live in Paris, and I have been living there in France for several years. I know the country very well, speak the language fluently. And this was a guy who was living far away from France, thinking about moving to a country where he'd never lived. So I was like, of course, you're going to talk to someone and take the advice of someone who lives in that country, right? Who's also Indian. But Peter, when I suggested this, he immediately responded and said, no, that's not what I'm going to do. And I found this a little surprising because it said to me, number one, he's not necessarily open to people questioning or providing input on his life choices, which is totally fine. But also sends a message. And secondly, he was closed on a topic on which he had no prior information. So again, he was talking to someone who's more informed than he was, and yet wasn't open to being influenced on his choices. So that was red flag number one for me. And number two, the fact that he wanted to live in a really small city versus living in a major urban area. So France is unlike a lot of countries where there's Paris and then there's the rest of the country. It's not like you have several different large cosmopolitan cities. You have Paris, and then you have a few other cities that are considered cities in France, but would be considered really small in the rest of the world, places that have 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 people, and are not as diverse as Paris, and where if you're not white, you definitely feel like you stand out. And then there's the rest of the country, which is kind of rural. So this guy, I don't know if he knew that, but he wanted to live in a much smaller city, not even one of France's big cities. And I live in the capital of France, and I want a partner who shares my very urban lifestyle. So when he told me, I'm making an active choice to live in a very small city that is not very diverse and work in a village, I thought, this guy doesn't share my lifestyle at all, and he doesn't intend, at least for this year, to share my lifestyle. So again, if it's not a lifestyle match, it's not a match. So I told Peter, it's been lovely getting to know you, but I'm not going to go further with this. And he said, I wish you all the best. Again, we parted amicably. Now, the third guy, Ravi, he was also really lovely. The thing I loved about him, I had met him on my travels previously, and we had been in touch, and we were planning to meet up. He loves to travel. I mean, this guy loves to travel, travels so much. And every time I see his photos, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could travel as much as him. And I wish I could be with someone like him who would just plan all my trips for me. And then I could just tag along and bring my computer and like work when we're not out doing tourism. So shares my huge passion and value of traveling. And he's also just a nice guy. He has really interesting perspectives. He has a great sense of humor. I always crack up at his jokes. And he is very, very family oriented, very close to his family, loves spending time with them. So we have a lot of values in common. He's also an educated professional, works remotely. So there were a lot of things in common, lifestyle choices, mindset, etc. What was the main red flag? When we were communicating about meeting up, he was really slow at responding to my messages. And then he's like, hey, let's meet up. And I was like, sure. And then he didn't propose a specific time and date. So again, an empowered masculine man will not waste time asking you out. He will say, hey, I'd love to take you out. How about, 2 p.m. on Wednesday or 7 p.m. on Saturday or 8 o'clock on the 14th at this restaurant. They do not waste time because empowered masculine men who are successful do not have time to waste. Ravi didn't do that. He kind of left me hanging. And that's how I realized he's not serious about finding a partner. He might be serious about me. We definitely have a lot in common and think the same way. And he knows that because we know each other a little bit. But he's not serious about finding a partner right now. And so rather than waste time being disappointed, I saw the situation for what it was, a man who is not prioritizing the partner search right now, even though he was prioritizing spending time with me specifically, and I moved on. Guy number 4, Rajesh. Again, he reached out to me on Facebook. Now, because of my work, because of the advertising and marketing that I do for my business, a lot of men reach out to me on Facebook. I have a very public profile and lots of photos of mine on the internet. And if you want men to reach out to you, empowered, masculine, educated, ambitious professionals, to reach out to you out of the blue, you need to have an open profile, lots of high quality photos, and to have a public presence on the internet. If you do that, single men who are quality guys will reach out to you. Not all of them are creeps. Not all of them are like losers or whatever you want to call it. There are some great guys who do reach out to you, and Rajesh was one of them. He found my profile, or I found his profile, I don't remember, and then we started DMing each other on LinkedIn. And he was super handsome. He just finished his MBA. He was like thinking about starting his own company, and then through over the few weeks that we were communicating, he ended up getting a really prestigious job in the same industry that I used to work in. So right away, I saw that we had some values in common. We had a similar mindset. He also liked an international environment. So his new job is in a super international organization. The organization is based in Switzerland, so it requires a lot of travel. And he seemed like a nice guy. His photos were of him smiling. He had a great smile and he was really handsome. So I was like, wow, I really want to get to know him. And we had a lot of interest in common. We were talking, and then 2 red flags came up. So something that happened while we were communicating, I really don't like LinkedIn. So I deleted my LinkedIn profile because I was wondering, I was like, do I need to use this? It's taking a lot of my attention. Should I keep it or not? So I turned off my LinkedIn profile for a little while to check it out. And then I realized, no, I actually need LinkedIn because 100% of my clients are on LinkedIn. And so I turned it back on. And so I don't know if he thought I was not serious about him or not during this time. I'm not sure. But after I turned it back on, he was really slow with following up with me. And the second thing is he was like, yeah, we should meet up. But then again, just like Ravi, no follow-up. So I was like, that's a red flag. The very slow follow-up, if a guy is serious about you, he will follow up quickly and immediately. If he's very slow at following up, he's either not interested in you or he's not interested in finding a partner right now. It's always going to be one of the two, and it's not personal. It's not about you. He's just got other stuff going on. So both Ravi and Rajesh were slow on the follow-up, and both of them are good-looking guys. But when I saw that slow follow-up, I was like, this is not what I want. And the second red flag that Rajesh had is that when I zoomed in on his photos, I noticed that he had really bad skin. Now, for the longest time, I had really bad skin, and everyone told me, oh, this is genetic, except my parents. And my parents were like, we didn't have really bad skin. Why do you have really bad skin? This is weird. So that was when I began my health journey. And I just realized I had such vast quantities of sugar and processed food in my diet that it was causing my skin to get inflamed and I was just having acne. So Rajesh, guy number 4, had that in his photos. He had bad skin. And right away I realized, okay, this guy has a poor diet, which means he's not prioritizing his health and fitness, which means he's not a man for me. An empowered masculine man takes care of himself because the only way he can look after a family is if he himself is in good health. You cannot have a man who is looking after the family and then, dropping dead of a heart attack. In my family, almost every single guy has had a heart attack, and both of my grandfathers dropped dead of heart attacks. So it's purely through lack of self-care. They had poor diets, drinking lots of alcohol, very high stress levels. And so it's something that I put a huge priority on when looking for potential partners, is a guy who actually puts his health and fitness first so that he is in good enough condition to then look after a wife and a family. And I saw with Rajesh that there were already the signs that he was not doing that. So I said, Rajesh, I've been lovingly getting to know you, but you are not the right guy for me. And this, my lovelies, is how I turned down 4 serious options. Now, what does it mean? Very often we get into scarcity mindset. We think, oh, I can't turn people down because what if I don't meet someone else? What if I don't find the right person? Blah, blah, blah. But each guy that comes into your life, even if you're just talking to him on the internet, like I was talking with these 4 guys, they take up mental energy, and our time is so precious. The thing that I realized getting to know these 4 guys is, in the past, I would have met up with these guys in person. I would have sent them lots of messages. I would have pursued them. I would have done my best to actually date them. But now I realize, okay, I have my ideal partner profile really clear. I know exactly what I'm looking for. And I'm a high value woman. I take great care of myself. I have a job that I love. I'm investing in my personal development, and I make sure to take care of my mental health. So if I value myself, then the right man will also value me. Remember, someone who's not aligned will not and cannot value you if they don't value the same thing. So a guy, in order for him to value me, he has to already be in that same level. And all of these 4 men who I got to know last month, for one reason or another, were not aligned. That's okay. It just means that they're not a long-term match, and that's fine. We parted ways amicably. There was no strife. There was no conflict. Nowadays, rather than being afraid of conflict or afraid of being direct, and rather than being afraid of being brutally honest with what I want and need in a partner, I just say upfront, I look at my ideal profile. Does this guy match what I've written already in my ideal partner profile, or not? And if he doesn't, then I can quickly, easily disconnect from the situation before I get emotionally attached. And therefore, I don't get hurt at all. If you're wondering where and how to meet guys who do invest in their health and fitness, who are serious about starting a family, and who want to settle down, I've put together a bundle of profiles from my exclusive private database. Some of the most attractive individuals, they're all men that I would date myself. And as I think, I found these guys while I was, the guys who I met this month, I found them while I was assembling this bundle of profiles. So these profiles are all verified, qualified individuals who are very serious about settling down. They're all really good looking guys, and they're all educated professionals who are doing very well in their careers. I put together this bundle, and you can grab it via the link below. So click the link below. It's called 7 Profiles for $47. We are running a sale right now, so we'll raise prices soon. And I would invite you to grab it so that you can start getting to know men who are actually serious. If right now you're not really meeting anyone, you really want to start meeting educated professionals who actually have the intention to commit, and you would really like to be in the position of being able to turn down guys who are not a match, because you actually have guys who you can turn down. Click the link below to grab the bundle, and I will see you on the other side. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.